Hezbollah have suffered the worst, with thousands affected across the country. All right, viewers, those were the headlines and our top focus. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz has stated that following the implementation of the agreed first phase of the Gaza peace plan, Israeli Defense Forces are preparing to demolish Hamas's tunnels in the Gaza Strip. He has further stated that the major challenge for Israeli forces after the return of the hostages is dismantling of Hamas's tunnels in Gaza under U.S. leadership and supervision. He has highlighted that this step is in accordance with the principle of demilitarizing Gaza and disarming Hamas. Meanwhile, Israeli defense authorities have stated that they have detained more than a dozen suspects in the West Bank who participated in a march allegedly supporting Hamas. Over the weekend, the IDF and border police say that forces were dispatched to several villages in Ramallah, where gatherings in support of Hamas were held. These developments come as US President Donald Trump is slated to hold a crucial meeting tomorrow. He'll be co-chairing this with Egyptian President El-Sisi, and 20 other world leaders are slated to be present. With us on the broadcast is Mr. Peter Baum, foreign editor of Weekly Blitz, joining us from London. Thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to us on NewsX World. At the outset, I wanted to know what are your expectations from this crucial meeting that is slated to take place tomorrow. Several world leaders will be in attendance, whether it's Macron, Keir Starmer, Giorgia Meloni, Pedro Sanchez, Erdogan, and EU Council President Antonio Costa, as well as UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres.
Yes, good day to you, and thank you for having me on the programme. If this meeting is fully supportive of the Trump ceasefire plan, then it gives credibility. Not only does it give credibility to the plan, but it puts both warring factions, both the Israelis and Hamas, in a position, a noose round their neck that neither would or should be able to get out of. So the meeting, from a political point of view, is exceptionally important. It's interesting that Iran, who were the main supporters, both financially, militarily, of their proxy Hamas, is being completely isolated from this meeting. So it's also interesting that the UN Secretary General Guterres is there, because up till now, I'm pretty sure that what I'm telling you and your viewers and listeners is correct. Donald Trump, since Donald Trump has been back in office, has not had one meeting with him. He has completely isolated him because he considers him to be a biased, incompetent fool. And the fact that now Guterres has managed to find a role for himself in this meeting is more to do with his acceptability to other world leaders than he is to Donald Trump. I don't think he has actual any input into the meeting. But the fact the meeting is taking place, and if it is fully supportive of the Trump plan, then both parties are even more pressurized into ensuring that not only the ceasefire holds, but the first phase of the hostage deal goes through. So it will be interesting to see if there are any dissenting voices in that meeting.
Indeed, and speaking of dissent, do you think now the IDF revealing that they're preparing to demolish Hamas's tunnels in the Gaza Strip could also now be a sticking point? Because Hamas, as so far as we've been discussing, it's remained mum on demands by the US administration to disarm, but the IDF claims that they will do so under American supervision.
Yeah, I don't think the world should be under any illusions that the war came to, the end of the war has come too soon for the Israeli military to fulfill its ultimate objective, was to destroy Hamas, if not entirely, then more than it has done. I think if you were looking at percentages, the Israeli military would say, well, we've done 75% of the job, but that 25% remaining, the number of Hamas operatives still around and the tunnels themselves, Israel has an opportunity to destroy the tunnels. Whether that in itself is enough to break the ceasefire deal will only know after the reactions of the Trump administration and the meeting that we've just referred to. So it's possible that Israel will go ahead destroying some of the tunnels that she sees could still pose a threat to her security. And it will be also interesting to see if Hamas fight back, or if they decide, with so much pressure being put on them, to give up more arms than they actually want to. So in this respect, the next 48 hours, which will include, or should include, the first phase of the prisoner exchange deal, is absolutely crucial to the well-being of the Trump plan.
Indeed, sir. Requesting you to stay on with us as we're tracking some other important information regarding this meeting. We're now learning that European Council President Antonio Costa will attend the Gaza Peace Summit. This has been confirmed by an EU official. Moreover, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been invited by US President Donald Trump and Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi to attend the Gaza Peace Summit in Sharm el-Sheikh. This last-minute invitation was extended yesterday, although the Prime Minister's office has yet to confirm his participation. But now, according to reports, India will instead be represented by the Minister of State for External Affairs, Kirti Vardhan Singh, at the high-level gathering. Now, according to Egypt's presidency, the summit will be co-chaired by Trump and el-Sisi. It will bring together leaders from more than 20 countries. The talks, of course, aim to end the war in Gaza, strengthen regional stability, and open a new chapter of peace and security in the Middle East, under what the White House calls Trump's vision for global peace. Still with us on the broadcast is Mr. Peter Baum. I'd like to, in fact, touch upon something that you've already told our viewers, that is the presence of the United Nations itself. You pointed out that until now, the UN has played more of a secondary role. It's not really been involved in the negotiations on the ground. What it's been doing largely is publishing reports and providing humanitarian aid. We do know that now the Rafah border crossing is opening. There are hundreds of aid trucks on the ground as well. And speaking of post-war reconstruction, that will be a long-drawn process that many estimate could, in fact, take place over a decade or so. What else is needed in the meantime, in the immediate aftermath of the ceasefire, considering the fact that a lot of Palestinians who've been displaced are now heading home, but their homes have been reduced to rubble, and a lot of hospitals were also bombarded?
Yeah, couple of things to go through here and to dissect. It's interesting from what we see on our television screens, and I'm sure you're seeing the same where you are, that the number of Palestinians a couple of weeks ago who were leaving Gaza City and going along the various humanitarian corridors created by the Israelis are now returning back to Gaza City to their homes, albeit to a city that has been reduced to rubble. But isn't it interesting that none of those Palestinians seem to be dying of famine? Something that we were told time and time and time again of the famine in Gaza, the famine in Gaza, and no pictures that I've seen such a famine. The other interesting thing which you touched on was the invitation to the Indian Prime Minister Modi. Now, India is seen by both the Israelis and Trump as a more trusted partner in this process than the Europeans. And I am certain that should there be a reconstruction of Gaza, which there will be, both the Israelis and the Americans will definitely want India to play a major role, because she is a trusted actor, a trusted player in this theatre of the absurd. President Trump has a fantastic relationship with Prime Minister Modi, as does Netanyahu, and although they don't see eye to eye on everything, naturally, India is a real trusted partner. So I'm hopeful that if the Trump plan does go ahead, then India will be called in as a partner to ensure the peace process continues and to help with the reconstruction, more so than the European Union, which I have to say, this where we are at the moment in the political spectrum is not trusted by the Trump administration, nor is she trusted by Israel. So in that case, I think President Modi and the Indian economy could benefit hugely by merely being there and being a player in the redevelopment of Gaza.
All right, so I request you to stay on with us. So we're in fact tracking some other very crucial updates from the Middle East. Iran has now reacted to the agreed first phase of the Gaza peace plan. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has in fact stated that Iran does not have any confidence that Israel would respect the terms of the ceasefire plan that has now come into effect. Iran has been skeptical of Israeli intentions, as the Iranian foreign minister pointed to previous ceasefire violations undertaken by Israel, including continuous strikes in southern Lebanon, despite an agreement which is already in place since last year. Listen in to what Araghchi had to say.
هیچ اعتمادی به رژیم صهیونیستی وجود نداره. موارد مکرری از آتش‌بس بوده در گذشته در جاهای مختلف، به ویژه در لبنان مورد آخرش هست که شاهد بودیم که توسط این رژیم شکسته شده، به جنایات خودش ادامه داده و لذا طبیعی هست که ما هشدارهای لازم رو در این خصوص دادیم و باز هم خواهیم داد.
Still with us on the broadcast is Mr. Peter Baum, foreign editor of Weekly Blitz, joining us from London. It's an interesting statement coming in from Iran, their official reaction to the ceasefire that is now in place. We do know that Iranian proxies were the ones that were fighting this war that is now stretched on for 2 years, and we can finally, hopefully, see an end to it as well. How much has Iran truly lost on the ground, not just in monetary terms, but in terms of its influence in the Middle East as well?
What a great question, and I'm delighted to be able to answer it. Iran has invested over the last 3 decades billions of dollars into securing herself with a ring of steel around her, mainly Shia proxies, all funded by Iran. And in the space of 2 years, since October the 7th, those proxies, their military strength has been absolutely decimated. We're talking about Hezbollah in both Syria and Lebanon, the Assad regime itself, of course, in Syria, which Iran supported. Hamas, we know where Hamas stand now. About 80% of their military power has been decimated. And the Houthis, it's interesting that through a series of bombardments, the Houthis, in the last, I would think, 8 or 9 days, have not fired one missile into Israel. Now, whether that they've been warned by the United States or whether Iran has been warned, we don't know. But economically, because of her failed investments, because of the new sanctions on Iran, and because, may I add, the infrastructure in Iran falling apart because of what can only be called a biblical drought, which has been going on for months now, Iran has never been so weakened economically or politically. The Iranian rial, which a year ago was trading, I think, at about 200,000 rials to the dollar, is now absolutely worthless. It's trading at about 1.5 million rials to the dollar. The Iranian economy is on its knees. And it was typical of the statement made by the Iranian politician we've just heard, that he was very sceptical about Israel's ability to hold on to the ceasefire. What else could he say? The Iranians are completely isolated in the process. One didn't expect him to make a positive comment about the ceasefire, especially towards the Jewish state of Israel. So really, his comments are, in the light of things, completely meaningless. They may make good media for the domestic audience, but for the international audience, I think we can see how isolated Iran is because of what's going on in Iran domestically.
You've spoken about Iran being isolated. I'd like to digress a little bit from our core focus and speak about another crucial development. Tehran has recently expressed that it sees no reason to resume nuclear talks with European powers. In fact, the E3 powers recently stated that they are seeking to restart the stalled discussions over Iran's nuclear program. But in the same breath, we've seen another very interesting statement. Araghchi, their foreign minister, has stated that Iran is open to considering a fair and balanced nuclear proposal with the United States. The same US that bombarded 3 nuclear installations, 3 sites in Iran just a couple of months back. Although no clear proposal has been made up until now, Araghchi has made it clear that Iran will not stop enriching uranium and will be considering measures to build trust around what they claim that their program is peaceful in itself. What do you think has prompted such a statement? Is the isolation that you've referred to prompted Araghchi to come out and make this sort of statement as far as its nuclear program is concerned?
Now, clearly, this indicates to me that there is a split between the Iranian hierarchy, which has not been authorized by the Grand Leader Khamenei. We saw it about a month ago when the Iranian foreign minister admitted to various Arab television stations that Iran was suffering a water crisis and may need to move its capital Tehran to further south. Khamenei apparently was livid at this because for the first time an Iranian government minister, a very senior Iranian government minister, had broken ranks from ensuring that to the international audience, and more importantly to the domestic audience, that all was well in Iran when clearly it isn't. Now, this new statement regarding the mixed messages about the willingness to talk about the Iranian nuclear facilities, brought about by sanctions from Germany, the United Kingdom and France, is again sending mixed messages to the international audience. And I believe it can only have happened if there was a split in the Iranian hierarchy, which has not been authorized, or maybe this particular statement has been authorized by the Supreme Leader. So to me, it seems that those running Iran at the moment on a number of issues, and another one being the potential flare-up on the Afghan border, indicates to me that there is clearly not is all well in the previous unification and united voice of the Iranian government.
All right, sir. With that, I would like to thank you for taking our time sharing your analysis with us on NewsX World. With that, viewers, we are shifting focus to more developments